Good morning. Welcome to our webinar today. Five things your website is trying to tell you and you're not listening. Presented by Matt Weber from Roar Internet Marketing. My name is Jairo Batista. I'm a consultant here with the Florida SBDC at UCF. With the Florida SBDC at UCF, for those who don't know, we're a program geared to help small businesses, and we do that in a variety of ways. First, we provide no-cost consulting, so you can come and speak with one of our consultants anytime, as much as you like, and we'd be glad to help you in a multitude of areas: marketing, finance, accounting, whatever business issues you have. We can definitely sit down and talk about it. We also provide webinars and seminars like these, and then we also provide market research and data. So basically, we can pull in data for you to help you make the best business decisions. Best business decisions for your company. And lastly, we provide specialized service programs and services for businesses who are trying to get to the next level. So right now we just rolled out a new program called COVID Relief Services. So if your business has been impacted by the COVID pandemic, please get in contact with us. We'd be happy to help you and provide assistance. For more information regarding that program, please visit www.sbdcorlando.com. Just a quick, before I introduce our speaker today, just a quick housekeeping tips. First, if you have any questions, please drop it in the chat. We'll address them towards the end of the webinar. And lastly, within a couple of hours of the webinar, we'll email you a survey. We'd greatly appreciate if you can fill that out, give us your feedback, because we use that data to kind of plan for our next webinars and seminars. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our speaker, Matt Weber. He is the CEO of Roar Internet Marketing. Matt Weber has an extensive, proven background with on and offline marketing strategy and activation. At Roar Internet Marketing, Matt leads the in-house team to leverage direct marketing principles with the latest in web design and digital marketing techniques to create personalized and measurable internet strategies. Roar is a leader in applying unique direct marketing perspectives to web design and internet marketing to achieve measurable value for all integrated strategies. Building on an award-winning TV career, Matt was an early adopter to the digital marketing era. As a certified Google Ads professional and a sought-after international Google Supported national trainer, Matt has taught thousands of individuals and business owners how to effectively use Google Ads and mine website data for increased lead conversion. Roar routinely achieves conversion rates for Google Ads twice as high as the national average. So basically, you're in really good hands today. So without further ado, I turn over to Matt Weber.
Thank you, Jairo. Really glad to be here. Good morning, everyone. I am Matt Weber, the president of Roar Internet Marketing, a digital marketing firm located in Altamont Springs. I've been working in digital marketing for 15 years, and my absolute favorite part of working in digital marketing is working with small and medium-sized businesses to unlock the treasure chest of data that they didn't know that they had. And everybody has it. Everybody's got this treasure chest of data that can make a significant impact on your marketing decisions, and most businesses simply aren't using it. Now, since your website today is the hub of all things marketing, both online and offline, it kind of knows more about your prospects and more about how well your digital strategy is doing than anybody else. And it's got some things it wants to tell you. So today we're going to cover the 5 things your website wants to tell you about your digital strategy, and you are not listening. You know, and who better to start off an analytics, data-driven digital marketing presentation in 2020 than a guy who was born in 1838. This, of course, is John Wanamaker, who was a famous United States retailer, United States Post Office General, but most well known for this quote: "Half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is I don't know which half." And this quote is going to serve as the overarching premise of today's presentation, because at the end of it, we hope to show you how you can connect the dots and you can know exactly what's working and you can know exactly what's not working and how to fix it. Now, if you're attending today's presentation, I assume in some way that means that you're either in the midst of or you're about to embrace using data in a greater way for your company. And that's great. That makes me really excited because there's a lot of research out there that shows that companies that use a data-driven marketing strategy outperform their competitors that don't consistently. And that research has been proven time and time again. You know, when I travel the country, though, talking to small and medium-sized businesses, I find that they don't lack data. In fact, in many cases, they're drowning in data. Their accounting program kicks out data, their CRM program kicks out data, their Google Analytics kicks out data, their email marketing program kicks out data. What I find is that they're kind of lost in this forest and they don't really know what to use. Now, if you're not familiar with the work of John Doerr, this is also the title of his famous book, Measure What Matters. John is a famous venture capitalist known for being able to sniff out early internet superstars. So he was in the beginning of Google, Uber, Intuit, Amazon, way, way before they became household names. And he's known for being able to filter through the noise of the data and focus on what data is actually meaningful, that what's driving the results and what's really showing what the future holds. And that's a promise that I'm going to make to you today, is that at the end of this presentation, that you'll walk away with some elements that you can actually put your hands on and grab them and see some data that you can actually use to move your company forward. But let's go back to your website, who knows more about this than just about anybody. And the first thing that your website is trying to tell you is whether or not your website's a good salesperson. Because really, if we make this as simple as it should be, your website's really only got one job. Its job is to sell. Its job is to convince people who are interested in what you do to do business with you. I mean, after all, if it didn't do that, what's its role in life? What's its purpose? So the number one thing that your website is trying to tell you is it a good salesperson? And right, there are good salespeople and there are bad salespeople. So if you can get a handle on how well your website is selling, you can make a big difference in your company's success. And the way that we're going to measure whether or not your website is a good salesperson or not is to know what the goal of your website is. Now, every website is designed, ideally, with an end action in mind. If everything went beautifully for a visitor to your website, what should they do? Should they click to call? Should they click on directions? Should they download a catalog? Should they fill out a form that requests an appointment? What is the end objective for your website? And hopefully, if you're in the program today, you can articulate that. And hopefully that's articulated in your Google Analytics. That end action is called a goal. And we measure the propensity for people to do that. And that's called the conversion rate. And very simply, that's the percentage of people that came to your website that did the thing that you want them to do. So think of it just like a salesperson. If you gave your salesperson, or if you gave them 100 leads of people that were interested in what your company does, how many of them would convert to a sale? That conversion rate, the percentage of people that do the thing that your website is designed to get them to do. Now, fortunately, this is a pretty easy number to find. It's in your Google Analytics. It's under goal, and it is your goal conversion rate. And I'm going to suggest to you today that this is one of the most important KPIs that you should know. Now, business owners, particularly, I'm talking to you now. I think this is right up here with your net profit margin, your gross profit margin, your EBITDA, your cost of goods sales. You should be able to know, top of mind, what is your website conversion rate. Now, once you know it, though, you may be asking, well, how do I know if it's good, or how do I know if it's bad? And this is a company called WordStream that puts out a study twice a year that studies conversion rates by industry. So if you look real close, you can probably see your segment on there. So you can see the number varies quite a bit, from perhaps a low of 2.77 all the way up to 7.98. So it really does depend on the industry, the segment, how consumers approach websites in your particular line of work. You may be familiar with a very famous case study that was done about 1-800-Flowers.com, in which they boasted a conversion rate of over 30%. Now, over 30%, let's step back for a minute. What does 1-800-Flowers.com sell? Flowers, pretty limited product line. And what's the mental state of somebody who gets to 1-800-Flowers.com website? Probably under duress, right? Now, I don't want to talk for all the men listening, but typically if you're on the website of 1-800-Flowers.com, that means you've exhausted all your previous options, right? All the good ideas you had that you procrastinated on are gone, and now you've got one left. So sure, they get a pretty high conversion rate. That's not something that most of us are going to achieve because we're typically not dealing with customers on that level of duress and limited options. So on the screen, you see the conversion rate going up for paid traffic. And that's an important note because these are people that are actively looking for the thing that you do. And this is a really important number because if we can't sell our product or service to the people that are actively looking for it, what hope do we have to sell it to people who are not interested yet or haven't developed an interest? And so the line going to the bottom, that's the conversion rate for ads that run on something called the display network. Those are the ads you and I see as we're browsing the internet, and those ads are trying to get our attention as we're doing other things on the internet. We're not actively seeking out whatever that ad is selling. Whereas that line extending to the top, that's the conversion rate of people who are actively seeking what you do. The conversion rate plays a big role, I think, in kind of de-stressing business owners a little bit. And as I mentioned, I travel a lot. I talk a lot about with business owners. And a lot of the folks I work with are owner operators. You know, they're trying to do it all, doing all the marketing, running the business. And I feel them get very frustrated about digital marketing. Should I be doing social media? And should I be doing organic? And should I respond to all those email solicitations I get of people pretending to be Google and helping me rank to the top page on Google? Should I be doing paid? How do they make sense of it all? And one of the things I say to them is, don't worry about that yet. The first thing to worry about is let's get more productivity out of the people you already have. So I compare this to squeezing an orange. And the number one thing that you want to be successful at is getting more juice out of the oranges you already have. That's a lot less stressful. So if we increase that website conversion rate and we don't do anything else, we're going to do better. We're going to make more money. So conversion rate allows us to focus on optimizing and getting the most productivity out of our existing resources and out of our existing traffic. And to do that, we got to do what I call conversion math. Take a deep breath here because this is about as mathematical as we're going to get in this presentation. I'm a creative guy by nature, so math isn't really my thing. So if I can master this, you can too. To do conversion math, you really need to know three things. You need to know that website conversion rate. And remember, it is in your Google Analytics. It's easy to find. So you've got to know that number. The second thing you have to know is what is your lead to sale conversion rate? So if your website produced 100 leads for you, how many of those actually turn into sales? So here at Roar, that number is about 22%, 20%. And then finally, you have to know your average transaction value. Now, you're probably thinking right now, if I were to ask you, what is your average transaction value? You're probably saying to yourself quietly the same thing that all of my clients say. You're probably saying, well, Matt, it depends on what we sell. Of course it does. It does for all of us. But if you were to take your revenue for 2020 so far, January 1st through June 30th, take that number, and you were to divide that by the number of transactions that occurred to generate that revenue, could you come up with a number? Sure. Now, is that number going to be accurate enough to land rocket boosters on a floating barge in the middle of the ocean? No. But as long as we use the number consistently, it's still going to bring value. And some of you are going to want to attack this number in a couple different ways. For example, some of you may want to deal with what is your net profit margin. And I'm going to show you an example of this in just a second when you do this calculation. Some of you may want to use your gross revenue on this. And some of you, very important, may want to talk about your average lifetime transaction value. Because think of a dentist for just a second, right? Most dentists now are advertising a $39.95 or a $49.95 new patient special. If they were to do the math that you're about to see based on $49.95 worth of revenue, they would never do any form of marketing ever, period. Never. Math never works in their favor. But instead, if they looked at it and said, hey, if I do get a new patient for $49.95, and they typically stick with me for 5 years, 6 years, and my average lifetime value then becomes $5,000 or $6,000, well, then that's completely different math. And that's the math that will work for them in doing this exercise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some numbers with you that come from one of our clients, a company that does screening closures. And, their average transaction is about $1,600, $1,700, and they pull about $200 out of net profit margin when everything's done on average. When all the dust clears, they put about $200 in their pocket. And their website gets around 600 visitors a month. Now, they know that their website conversion rate is 2%, which in their industry is not great. So they came to us and they were talking about, oh, should we do this, social media, and should we do this, pace, and we said, let's stop. Let's just focus on improving that conversion rate. Let's just deal with what we're already getting and see if we can get more out of it. And so we were able to improve that conversion rate to 4%. Now, their lead to sale conversion rate is 33%. That's pretty good, right? The number of people that fill out a form and say, hey, can you come out, give us a quote on our screening closure? They sell about 1 in 3 of those. That's pretty good. So here's their conversion math numbers. Average transaction profit, $200. They get about 600 websites a month. Their current conversion rate is 2%. Their lead to sale, number of leads that actually turn into a sale, is 33%. And the goal is to improve the website conversion rate to 4%. What's going to happen when we achieve that? Well, without spending more money on more advertising, leads go from 12 to 24, sales go from 4 to 8, profit goes from $800 a month to $1,600 a month, and we increase profits $9,600. Didn't buy any more media, didn't buy additional media, didn't put them in additional channels, just focused on getting more juice out of the oranges they already have. So that's conversion math, and particularly from a total website traffic standpoint, this is conversion math from a paid traffic standpoint. And you can find this website at ppcprojector.com, because I work with a lot of businesses and I look into their Google Ads account or their paid social, and I say, well, how do you know you can afford to pay this per click for this keyword? And they say, gee, I don't know. So let's apply the same math, right? So here in this model, you can build models on this website, and you can say, well, if I were going to buy 125 clicks or 200 clicks, and if it did cost $13 or $5, just change that slider bar there, and you put in your website conversion rate on that slider bar, and you put in your lead to sale conversion rate on that slider bar, and you put in your average sale value on that slider bar, and you can see then forecast before you do it whether or not you're going to make money. But the discussion point here specifically is what happens when you change that website conversion rate. Many Google Ads paid search programs can be positively impacted by simply improving the website conversion rate. So what is the website trying to tell you? The website's trying to tell you whether or not right now it's a good salesperson. And what I wanted to add to that discussion is showing you the downstream impact of simply focusing on that one very immediate opportunity in making your website a better salesperson. But the second thing today that your website's trying to tell you is it's trying to tell you how to prioritize your time. And again, coming back to the people that I work with, owner-operators trying to do it all and constantly asking themselves, what should I be doing? Should I be doing social media? Should I be investing into organic? Should I be doing this paid search stuff? Where should I be going? And the answer is in that treasure chest. And when we open up that treasure chest, we're going to see where are you sailing with the wind at your back, and where are you going to be sailing into the wind. Now, the data that you're seeing here is from a B2B business. It's from a business that sources very complex metals, very sought after, very specific metals for other manufacturers. And so this is an atypical result that you see on the screen. In most cases, for most businesses, not all, paid traffic tends to convert better because those people know they're clicking on ads. They're in the purchase funnel. But here, they've got a significantly higher conversion rate in organic search. Now look at the number of visitors there that come from paid search, 4,008, versus the number that come from 1,008 from organic, 1,896. And look at the difference in conversion rate. So what would happen if we said, okay, hang on, let's stop. Let's stop that money that's going into paid search, the time, the energy, and let's invest that into organic search. Look at the difference we would have nearly immediately on that. So the point of this particular section of today's program is you don't really have to do it all, and you're going to get frustrated trying to do it all. But your website is telling you where you should prioritize your time based on your current experience. You know, I was getting ready for this presentation and I decided to click just a little bit further because I thought that referral number just seemed low to me. And by the way, a referral is when you get website traffic because your website has a link to it on somebody else's website. That's called a referral, when you get traffic from somebody else's website. So I just decided to go a little bit further on a whim. And I saw that when you go into that, there's actually one referral, thomasnet.com, formerly Thomas Register, the granddaddy started in the 1800s of the catalog of manufacturers and sourcing materials for manufacturers. And look what happens when they get a lead or when they get a visitor from that website, 8.16%. Now look at the difference. What's happening here is that overall, when you put all the visitors to the website into a bucket, the conversion rate is 2.4%. But the visitors from that website, 8.16%. So now I'm even getting a higher priority. Now I'm saying, wait a minute, what if we go to ThomasNet and we say, what kind of sponsorship packages do you have? I'm sure they have paid programs. And so if I can increase the number of visitors from ThomasNet, I even now have a higher likelihood that I'm going to get a lead than even from organic traffic. You know, it's pretty curious the day that I was putting together this presentation. So I actually decided to go one step further because I've seen this pattern before. And I decided to take a look at that traffic from that website by day of the week. And look at the difference on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Now, a big asterisk here. We have a small data sample. Always be wary of small data sample. But look at this pattern that's emerging. And this kind of makes sense, right? Because what this company sells are materials that other companies need to produce their product. So these other companies are apparently doing their planning, doing their project planning, getting everything ready for the work that they have to do at the beginning of the week. That's not that unreasonable to see how that could come into play. And if this pattern continues, now think about how I'm going to get more juice out of the existing oranges. Because now I'm going to go back and get a sponsorship package out of that Thomas.net. And maybe, hopefully, I can say to them, well, I'd really only want to run my ads or my sponsorship on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And look how much further my money is going. So your website is really trying to tell you about priorities. If you're on the program today and you're feeling frustrated, you think you're trying to do it all, your website's really got the answer. It's telling you what should your priorities be. Now, your website's also telling you, are you making a good first impression? You know, and we've all done it, right? We've all gone to a meeting with maybe something on our teeth, or guys, we've all done the thing where we've gone to a meeting and unfortunately our zipper was down, right? We've all done it. Yep, made a bad first impression. So websites are pretty good at making bad first impressions too. And you know, it turns out that as humans, we're pretty shallow when it comes to first impressions. It takes about 1/10 of a second for a human to form an opinion about another human when meeting for the first time. Now, if human to human is pretty shallow in assessing other humans, look how shallow we are in assessing websites. It takes half that time for users to form an opinion of a website. 0.05 of a second for them to form an opinion. Isn't that crazy? So yes, users are very, very superficial and shallow when it comes to evaluating your website. And right here is where I see people make a pretty big mistake in designing websites by not taking this into account. See, I think there's a whole group of people out there that design websites for elephants. And what I mean by that is they design websites as if the user is going to lumber up to the website, sit down, grab a cup of coffee, take a deep breath, commit themselves to reading everything on the website, memorizing it, and the website's kind of laid out like that. But in truth, that's not how humans take in websites. Humans are more like squirrels. You know, they bounce from a photo to a headline to a subheadline, back to the photo. They're very frenetic and very shallow and very superficial in how they take in websites. So this first impression topic that we're talking about is really a big deal in keeping people on the site and being able to make money with your website and being able to use it as a productivity tool for your business. That first impression really matters. Now, imagine you've gone to Google and you've typed in the phrase luxury pool builder, right? You're looking for a custom pool builder, a luxury pool builder, and you're just skimming, right? And you're skimming and you come across these sites and you spend about this amount of time on these two sites, right? Just a couple seconds. And you can see that one of them, I assume, is forming a completely different first impression than the other. You know, my favorite part of this, the second one that's on your screen right now, is the hands in front of the mouth screaming, check out our reviews, because, you know, that's what I want for my luxury pool builder. I want them to yell at me. That's the mood that I'm trying to create. So first impressions really, really matter. And unfortunately, something that your mom told you, you know, don't judge a book by its cover, doesn't apply on the internet. It's just not true. People do judge a book by its cover. But here's where it gets even a little bit more complicated. If I could, I would erase the word homepage from everybody's vocabulary. We're still clinging to this notion that everybody enters a website through the homepage, and we design homepages to make that first impression. This data is from a landscape material company in Atlanta, and they sell everything from gravel to rocks to all kinds of fill dirt to mulch, just huge varieties of all that. And what you see on the screen is that of the 169,000 sessions for this website, only 14% of them were generated by the homepage. 14%. So why is this happening? This is happening because people are becoming very specific in how they search. They're becoming more specific every day. So if you have an interior page on your website that lines up with that specific thing that people are searching for, then that's the entry point. That's now where you have to make a good first impression. So if you look on your screen, you can see they've got details about river rock and boulders and fill dirt. Why? Because people search fill dirt, Atlanta, Georgia. They search landscaping rocks, Atlanta, Georgia. And what page do they get from Google? They get the detailed page about the product. They may never see the homepage. So if you're thinking about making a first impression, a really great first impression, the first thing you have to help yourself do is maybe remove the word homepage from your vocabulary. So how do we measure, you know, what's a good first impression and what's not? It is a KPI called the bounce rate. And a bounce is a single page session. That means that the user came to the website, they viewed one page, and they left. So a lot of people find it helpful to visualize a trampoline. They came from Google, they hit that page like a trampoline, but they jumped and bounced and left. They didn't take in any other content, they didn't take in any other action. So if we see a page with a high bounce rate, we've got to look at it more deeply and say it maybe didn't make a good first impression. So here's that same landscaping company in Atlanta, just a small portion of some of those product detail pages. And you can see that the bounce rate varies, you know, marginally per page. So let's take a look at line 5 there and look at landscaping materials, rocks / boulders. Because if we track this data over time, and this is a pretty good sized data set, pretty reliable, whatever is being said on that page is not working as effectively as the other pages. So it could be a number of things. Could be maybe the pictures aren't as good. They don't allow the user to actually see what that is. Maybe the copy doesn't describe the things that they're looking for, like how heavy is it, how hard is it to transport. But it's clear that we're not meeting the needs of the user on that page as well as we are on the other page. So we've got a good opportunity here to elevate, improve that page, and get better results and make more money by doing it. But so what are the causes of bad first impressions? The biggest one today in 2020, which is surprising, frankly, is still slow load time. We are very impatient as consumers. And I think if you maybe reflected on yourself for just a minute and you think about how you use the internet, you might agree that maybe you too are impatient when you use the internet. And man, slow load time is just a killer. And lots of research supports this. And there's lots of research that says there's a linear relationship between load time and the likelihood of the user doing what it is that you want them to do. And the landmark study was done by Amazon, in which they were able to improve that conversion rate that we talked about in the beginning of the program by doing just one thing, by improving the speed of their website. That's it, didn't do anything else. And so they got more sales, more profit, more money simply by improving their load time. Now, the other thing that comes into play a lot of times is hard to read layout. I think you saw that on the poll website that I showed you just a minute ago, that it had a lot of different things competing for visual attention. And this is key now because we're all pretty aesthetic people, right? Remember that squirrel, that frenetic jumping from here to there? The elephant might be able to look at that second website, but the squirrel is not going to be able to digest that second website. Now, this one here is going to be a little bit tough to swallow for a lot of the business owners on the call. One of the drivers of bad first impressions is copy that still is very self-serving, right? Chest-thumping copy that talks about how much experience you have and how great your leadership team is and what your mission statement is. It's important to remember that people go to the web to solve a problem. That's why they go to Google. They Google to search the solution to a problem. And the more you line up with how your service or your product helps them solve the problem, the more you connect with them, the greater likelihood that you get that conversion. And so this is a giant flip. It's because it's less about us now in writing copy. It's less about how great we are, and it's more about them, the user. What's in it for them? If you're not answering that question very quickly, right up front, directly, what's in it for them, then that's going to generate that bounce rate, and that's going to generate that bad first impression. And remember, we're pretty shallow. Inferior aesthetics, they will cause people to leave. There's that bounce rate. And I want to stress to you how important it is to be a good visual storyteller in 2020, and I'm going to assume so in 2021. I had an interesting interaction with my daughter. We were texting, and she sent me a text, and I responded with an emoticon, and she responded with a meme, and then I responded with an emoticon. And I thought, oh my gosh, we're back into hieroglyphics, right? I mean, we communicated with no words. We communicated with visual images. And think about maybe your social media consumption. Think about the people around you. What are they seeing on their social media feeds? How are they absorbing messages? It's images. You've got to be a great visual storyteller today to succeed. The aesthetic value of your messaging has never been more important. So inferior aesthetics are going to create that bad impression. They're going to create that bounce rate. And then the other thing that we see that drives a lot of bad first impressions is overly general copy. Remember, people are very specific in what they search for. My wife and I just last night, we were trying to find a multi-plug just for one of the applications at the house, one of those power strip things. And you ended up having to search power strip with USB ports and surge protection and 8-foot cable. Come on, like a couple of years ago, we just would have searched, power strip. But whoever got that business from us didn't get it if they didn't have a product that lined up with that level of specificity. So think about users and how specific they are when they look for, they're looking for things very specific. And if you're still one of those companies that have a has a page that says services and it says we do A, we do B, we do C, we do D, we do E, it can't be as successful today as it was just a couple years ago, because people want a high level of detail about the very specific thing that they are looking for. Remember, this is a very personal, intimate relationship that we have now with searchers. It's one person searching, looking for a specific thing, and we have to talk to their specific needs in order to get that conversion. The fourth thing that your website is trying to tell you is who likes you best. You know, it's 2020. Something I'd like to ask you to write down is we don't market to everyone anymore. We do not market to everyone. Digital marketing is about marketing with a laser. What we used to call mass media, shotgun marketing, just no reason for it. So let's take a look at some examples. This is data from a company in Sanford that delivers propane gas. Now, who would have thought that that product offering, that service offering, would yield such a difference in the receptivity of that message between men and women? Now, this company's got a couple choices, right? It could easily generate a higher level of efficiency from its paid advertising by just prioritizing men over women. You could argue maybe even excluding women. Or it could start running some tests and figure out, why is the messaging received less favorably by women than men? And I think if you go to a lot of propane delivery websites, they've got a lot of pictures of trucks, big trucks, and it's probably going to have a stereotypical picture of a man at a grill, a gas grill. I think there's probably some visual clues that would tell them why their messaging isn't being received as well by women. But right here, the website's saying, hey, we could chart two different courses. We can either be more efficient here just by reaching out to men, or we can address this issue of why our messaging isn't being received well by women. Now, this is a data from a website from a law firm that specializes in timeshare separations. They get you out of timeshare contracts. And the first thing that I want to point out to you is on row 6. Look at those 18 to 24s. Now, your first reaction might be, well, how many 18 to 24s own timeshare contracts? But remember, they didn't get to this website because they just tripped over it. They got to this website because they actively pursued it, right? They went to Google, they searched for it. So whatever stage in life these 18 to 24s are at, they got to this website by design. And the message is not being received. They convert at a lower level. Why is that? Well, when you go to this website, you know what you're going to see a lot of? Text, a lot of words. You know what you're not going to see any of? Images, icons, visual communication. So I see in a lot of websites this I'm going to call it a generation gap, but here's where you're seeing that line of people who have been raised in an era of social media simply not being able to, or having a desire to absorb a lot of text-based content. Now, let's just say, hypothetically, we went to this company and we said, you know what, you don't need to spend any more money. You don't need to go out and get any more oranges. Let's just work on the idea that if we're just going to focus on the 25 through 54s, in digital marketing, we can exclude everybody else on that. What happens if we just excluded the people that aren't as receptive to our message historically? And again, we're not going to go out and buy any more media. We're not going to go get more stuff. But if we did that, the conversion rate increases from 4.93% to 7.3%. So if we had 1,000 paid visitors and we excluded those demographics that aren't favorable to our message, today they're getting 50 leads from 1,000 paid visitors. If we excluded them, they get 73 leads. They can generate a 46% increase in leads by doing what? Doing less. Not doing more, doing less. So your website's trying to tell you, hey, there are some people out there and they like you right now, right? And they're clicking with your message, things are going well. Go get more of those people. Stop trying to sail into the wind and convince people that aren't receptive to your message. Now, downstream, absolutely. We want to try to figure out why those people aren't receptive to the message and then adapt the message in some way. But let's eliminate the friction and let's go where the fish are. So we're kind of getting to the end of the program here. But the fifth thing your website's trying to tell you is some of your pages are just flat out repelling people, right? They're just simply not working. And to understand this point, I want you to imagine for just a minute, pretend with me here, that all of you are in the restaurant business. You are restaurant owners. And when you're at your restaurant, you watch your servers put down a particular dish on a table, and every single time that dish is put on a table, every single time the people get up from the table and they walk out the door, it happens every single time without fail when that dish is. Sooner or later, I'm hoping you'll come to the same conclusion, right? You know, stop serving that dish, right? If you were a restaurant and you were serving a dish that, oh, you put it in front of people and they're like, oh, gotta go, I'm out. They leave. You just simply stop serving the dish. But as website owners, we're still serving the dish. We're still putting pages in front of people that are clearly and empirically repelling them. They are getting up and leaving. And in website analytics, we call that an exit page. An exit page is when a user leaves the website from that page. That's their point of departure, right? They could have consumed 8 pages prior to this, but this is the page that they left on. Now, this is data from a dermatology practice in South Florida. And I want to point out 2 things to you here. I want to point out line 11. They have a page about Accutane. And then I want to point out to you line number 2, which is a Botox pricing guide. Let me talk about number 2 for just a second. When someone gets to a page that is all about pricing, usually that's pretty clear they have some level of purchase intent, right? They've consumed some other content, and on this website, there is a link that says, hey, to find out more about our Botox pricing, click here. Man, if someone's checking prices, they are ready to go, right? That's that final step in the funnel. To lose 93.5% of those people, that's a problem. That's a problem. And when you look at that page, by the way, it doesn't answer the pricing question. It's a very vague answer to the pricing. Now, it could also be that the information that they present, someone says, oh, well, those prices are too high. I doubt that's the case where this dermatology practice is located, but we got a bunch of really interested people and they got up from the table and they walked out the door. Now let's talk about that Accutane page. What is someone searching when they get to that page? And I want to point out to you, by the way, that 93% of all the traffic to that Accutane page came from organic. Again, just stressing that they didn't trip on it. They didn't fall into that page. They actively landed on that page. So they were probably Googling something like, can I get results with Accutane? What are the reviews of Accutane? Accutane dermatologist near me. Is Accutane dangerous? Right? Think about those questions in your mind. So that's how they got to the page. And that's an important consideration for today's program is what's the mindset, right? What's the problem that people are trying to solve when they get to the site? And when we go to that page, keep in mind that mindset. What are they trying to achieve? You know, what do we see? First thing we see is a headline that says Accutane for severe acne. Didn't help the user. Clearing up the facts about Accutane. Didn't help the user. Is Accutane still available to treat acne? Okay. Yes and no is the first words of the copy. Okay. Now, let's go to the second sentence. Accutane is the brand name for the medication isotretinoin. Think about why people got to this page. Is Accutane safe? Is dermatologist Accutane? We haven't answered that question at all in there. Like all retinoids, it's a derivative of vitamin A. The brand Accutane is no longer available, but there are multiple generic forms of isotretinoin in the market. Okay, here's a classic case. The elephant would be very comfortable with this page. The squirrel, you lost the squirrel. You didn't immediately answer what the squirrel was looking for. And remember, how much time is the squirrel investing into this? In some cases, right, 0.05 of a second, and that you didn't immediately answer. But let's go one step further. Who might be doing a search about Accutane? Maybe teens, maybe parents of teens. But if it is teens, young adults, what's missing? The visual storytelling. No graphs, no charts, no memes, no icons, no anything. Think about how people consume social media. How is that affecting how people absorb the content on your website? This is a lot of text for somebody to go through, and it doesn't quickly, swiftly, and immediately answer the searcher's problem. Didn't help the searcher solve the problem. So where did that show up? It showed up in a high bounce rate, and this page is repelling people. So your website knows this. Your website knows that you've got pages right now that are repelling people, and they need to be fixed. And there's money just a hand's length away just by repairing pages like this. So let's quickly summarize the things that we talked about in today's program. Your website is really trying to tell you, is your website a good salesperson? And I'm going to suggest to you that for most of you, certainly not all, but for most of you, that's really its fundamental job, right? If you can't deal with that, then why even have a website? Why do you have the website if its goal isn't to sell your company and improve your sales and contribute to the success of your business? The second thing your website is telling you is how to prioritize your time, because you're probably not succeeding with all the possible channels out there, and you're going to go so much faster, further, if you sail with the wind rather than against the wind. The third thing your website's trying to tell you is that people are really shallow, really superficial, and first impressions really matter on the web. And so you can find out whether or not you're making a good first impression, and more importantly, where are you making a good first impression? It may not be your homepage in the way that you think it is. And then fourth, your website's trying to say, well, who likes you best, right? Because we want to go out and get more of those. Man, we're just like running with an anchor behind our back if we keep going after people that aren't predisposed to what we do and we keep chasing them. That's exhausting. Go after the people that are predisposed to your messaging and to your product. And then finally, your website's trying to tell you there are just some pages that are just swatting people away, just literally kicking them off your website because of their content. And you can, again, make more money by focusing what's already there. You know, maybe this is a playful way to talk about Google Analytics in terms of what your website would say. I think, though, if your website could really talk, I think the big thing it would say most would be, really, why aren't you using it to its full potential? You know, explore that first before you explore all of these other crazy things that people are trying to pitch us as business owners. If this maybe piqued your interest and you want to learn more, there's a couple things that we can do. You're welcome to ask a question. We're going to try to time this so we have about 7 minutes left in today's program. So if you do have a question, you can type it into the chat box there and we'll see if we can get to it. But if you do want to learn more on your own, you can go to the official Google Analytics YouTube channel. Be really careful here to find the one from Google Analytics, because there are an awful lot of people masquerading as Google on YouTube. But find that, and they put out some phenomenal 3 to 4 minute videos on the different parts of YouTube. And I'll tell you, you know, whether you watch them when you're on your treadmill or you're on your bike, or man, they're just great. Really tiny, bite-sized pieces of information that can kind of gradually get you to a higher level. And then the other thing to do is to go to skillshop.withgoogle.com. And at skillshop.withgoogle.com, there you'll find the Analytics Academy, which formerly had its own website. But the Analytics Academy is a series of prescribed lessons. They're all in a mapped out sequence with quizzes at different points. And it's a very methodical way to embrace analytics and increase your knowledge about Google Analytics. Now, maybe you're saying, okay, well, that's cool, but I don't really want to become an analytics guru, just in the same way you maybe didn't want to become an accounting guru, and that's why you hired a CPA. If you want to take a baby step into Google Analytics, there's a free website. It's called Smilelytics, and you can find it at smilelytics.com. And it will take your Google Analytics data and it will translate that into memorable photographs. And you actually get to select the photo theme that communicates these key KPIs to you. Super easy to do, very fun, very high level information. Kind of acts like your automobile dashboard to alert you to the things that you probably want to pursue a little bit further, or you'll get a happy dog that says, hey, everything's are good, no need to worry. So that's smilelytics.com, and that's free. So if you've got some further questions, please put them into the chat box there. We'll be happy to answer them. We've got about 8 minutes remaining. But if you want to find me, you can find me at roarontheweb.com. And if you have a question we didn't get to in this program, you're welcome to put it on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Roar Internet Marketing. And if I can't get to it, one of our team members will get to it. Or you can tweet us at Best Web Design FL. So I hope you got a lot out of the program. I don't see any questions coming in, but I do want to thank you for taking time out of your really busy day, I'm sure, to learn about the 5 things that your website is trying to tell you and you're not listening. But hopefully from now on, you will. With that, we'll turn it over to Jairo.
Actually, I see a couple of questions here. First question, when looking at website traffic and sessions over time, you find your most popular pages. You mentioned keywords. Will our analytics supply our top 50 keywords, short tail and long tail, that brought people to the site?
Wow, what a great question. So the answer to that doesn't lie in Google Analytics. It lies in a program called Google Search Console. It too is free, requires just a little bit of setup. But when you look in Google Search Console, you get to see all of the search queries that caused your website to be exposed on a Google search engine results page, whether or not you got the click. So that's key, right? Because let's say you go into Google Search Console and you see this 3 or 4 word phrase, and let's say it happened 1,000 times last month, and it's right down the middle of the road to what you do, and you didn't get any clicks. It happened 1,000 times, and you got none of them. That's market share data. That's phenomenal data, and you would look at that and go, okay, I got to do that because those are people that are actively looking for what I do, and I didn't get any of them, so I got to do whatever it takes to get in front of those folks. So that data actually comes from Google Search Console.
All right, great. Another question. How would you advertise when a company offers different services?
Yeah, pretty easy to do. And the key to that is to bifurcate and be really streamlined in those different services. So you'll find a really common mistake is people will use paid advertising in that situation, and they'll land people on the website homepage. But remember what we talked about today. People are very specific. They have an expectation that they're going to find whatever it is they're looking for. So if you are going to advertise different services, you need to have a different landing page for each one of those services. And by the way, it's not uncommon to have multiple landing pages about those different services, because let's say a lot of people search the reviews of service, or they search what's the price of service, or how do I buy? That's a popular phrase now. How do I buy? Whatever that is. And so you might want to have a page on what's the best things to look for when you're buying this service on that. So the answer to that question is to have very specific landing pages about each service, and perhaps multiple landing pages about each service.
Okay. Next question. What are the best ways to eliminate the bot traffic from analytics?
Getting harder and harder to do. So online, you will find a couple filters that you can put in on your Google Analytics. And when your Google Analytics is properly set up, you want to create 3 filters. You want to create a test filter, a production filter, and a raw filter. So the raw filter is just the data coming in, nobody touches it, does anything to it. On that test filter, you can create filters based on the bot traffic that's coming in. You'll find some online. People will, in a lot of forums, they say, you know, here's the top 10 sources of bot traffic. For some companies, a lot of the bot traffic comes from particular countries. For some companies, the bot traffic comes from a particular host name. Once you see where that bot traffic is coming from, you're going to create filters in your test view. And once you look at your test view and you say, okay, well, that's not making any dramatic, it's either working or it's not working, and it's not harming everything else, then you would move those filters from your test view to your production view. It's an ongoing battle, by the way. Just for all of our clients, typically we're going to go in at least once a month and look for opportunities to improve their data. The broader your geographic reach is as a company, the harder it is to eliminate spam Google Analytics traffic. The more narrow your geographic reach is, the easier it is to do it, because a lot of spam bot traffic comes from other countries.
Will you address the items regarding brand new businesses who want to begin attracting website visitors?
Say that one more time.
Question, will you address the items regarding brand new businesses who want to begin attracting website visitors?
Okay. So brand new businesses who want to begin to attract website visitors. Step one, and a lot of people jump over this step, before anything else, is to do keyword research. Before you've built the site, before you've hired a vendor, find out what is the vocabulary that people use to find what they do. Because once you've got a solid handle on the words and phrases that people use to find what you do, then you can build the website around those phrases. You know, if I had the choice of two things, either having, the world's smartest SEO person or and a not well done website, or a really well done website that was built around this kind of research, and maybe an average talented SEO person, I would still pick this one. I'd pick the website that was built around the SEO research. Because if you don't get the SEO research and the building of the website correct, everything else is kind of uphill. It works a lot harder. So the very first thing you want to do as a new business is do the research to understand the vocabulary that people use to find your product or service.
Can I use Google Analytics for a replicated website and also landing pages built through something like ClickFunnels?
Is the word replicated? Can they use at Google Analytics for a replicated website?
Yeah, that's their first question. Yeah.
I'm not sure what that term means. So if you're the person who asked that question, if maybe you could refine that, that would help. But yes, you can use Google Analytics on a third-party program like ClickFunnels. In fact, ClickFunnels is set up to be able to make it easy to be able to drop in and set up Google Analytics. So second part of that question I can answer. The first one, I might need some clarity on what a replicated website is.
Okay. They say a cookie cutter website like company that offers a pre-made website for reps.
That's going to depend on the platform. I think I know what you're saying now. Like, for example, I've got a lot of experience with real estate agents, and real estate agents get their website from the broker, but it's a replicated website from the broker. And I will say that some of those platforms, you cannot use Google Analytics data on that. The other experience, and hopefully I'm answering your question, I find is with franchisees. Franchisees get a replicated website from a franchisor, and many times the franchisee doesn't have the access to the website that's necessary to set up Google Analytics. So it's really going to depend on who generated that replicated website. But I have been involved in situations where the answer to your question is no. And I've been involved in some situations where the answer to your question is yes.
How do I find the right SEO person for my site?
Great question, because there are more bad ones than there are good ones. I think first, as you're interviewing them, talk about what is their experience in your particular vertical, because that does help, right? I mean, you can save a lot of travel time, a lot of research time, a lot of preparation time if they have experience in your vertical. They don't have to reinvent the wheel. Then number two, I would look for case studies from previous websites and just say, give me a list of 5 or 6 websites that you're currently doing the SEO for, and give me what the targeted keywords are. And as you do that, be careful to distinguish between non-branded terms and branded terms. And I know we're running out of time, but I have to share this story because it kind of broke my heart. I went down to meet with a gentleman who had a cake baking company in Winter Park off of Aloma Avenue. And he was very resistant to the meeting, and he showed me this report. So I'm getting everything I want out of my current company. I ranked #1 for 10 phrases. And when I looked at his report, yeah, he ranked #1, and all 10 phrases were for versions of his name. And that's kind of a layup, right? You should be ranking #1 for your company name. If you're not ranking #1 for your company name, then don't pass go, don't collect $200. But he was completely non-existent for all of the non-branded terms, bake decorator near me, bakery near me, digitally invisible. And somebody kept collecting $2,500 a month from him to get him to rank #1 for his brand name, which should have taken $50 a month of effort to do that. So distinguish between brand and non-branded terms and ask for case studies of similar companies.
I see a few people have asked, could we email the slides to them? Or can I email the slides to them?
Yes.
Okay. I don't see any more questions. So are you available? One person asked, are you available to talk?
You can reach me either through our Facebook page, on Twitter, or you can reach me through the website at roarontheweb.com.
Okay, great. All right, so if there's no more questions, I thank you all for attending our webinar today. Greatly appreciate it, and I greatly appreciate Matt for doing this for us. A lot of great content to help you increase those conversion rates and attract the right type of clients to your site and to your company. So thank you again. Just a quick reminder, please fill out the survey that we'll send out in a couple of hours. Also, if you have any questions regarding how the SBDC can help you out, please visit our website at www.sbdcorlando.com. Especially if you've been shut down by the pandemic or just having, any type of interruption because of the pandemic, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to help. Thank you again, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, everyone.